Hello. Let's see. Linking people to the stream. The preview's not showing up. Maybe if I pause and unpause. Reload? There it goes. Oh, you can raise the bitrate in the middle of a stream. Alright, I just raised it a bit. Hello. Alright, I've got 4 grammar emails. From this morning.
Hey Commander, can you unplug me? Just for a minute, I need some privacy. Headset off and stretch her neck out. Down the rocks to her head's safe house. Yeah, I remember it all. Bleeding, shut out my calls. The air was so dusty. Her armor getting rusty. She found thoughts she never had. Her young ones were just as bad. He wins in a heartbeat like a lady. So powerful, rugged, waiting. I can't believe that you lied. Did you know where to find me? I get the feeling never really thought it cost me. Drops in her goggles, art of love. Something's really wrong and it feels awful. And even though her body's back to normal, she once was a villain and it's hiding in her soul. I don't wanna know what she did. She's not who I am. At least that's what I thought. Now I'm second guessing. I can't put my gun down. My suit's getting heavy. Something wants to be released. Something dark inside me. Dark familiarity. Something dark inside of me. Dark familiarity. Something dark inside of me. Dark familiarity. Something dark inside of me. Dark familiarity. She opened her eyes and watched the ruins. The thought of a life and a love to lose. She shook at her limbs. They want her back soon. The moments alone becoming scarce and few. Sure she could fight, but she's getting visions. These are words unspeakable and personally did. She couldn't pose a threat to the ghost like this. He rescued her once, now it's her turn to save him. Yeah, I remember it all. Bleeding, shut out my calls. The air was so dusty. Her armor getting rusty. She found thoughts she never had. Her young ones were just as bad. She wins without a weapon. I don't wanna know what she did. She's not who I am. At least that's what I thought. Now I'm second.
This is one of my favorite songs on the playlist, which is why I bookmarked it so that it starts with this song.
Guessing I can't put my gun down. My suit's getting heavy. Something wants to be released. Something dark inside drops in the goggles, art of love. Something's really wrong and it feels awful. My body's
Is the music too quiet for you to hear? I'm looking at the wave things. It was actually like this, but I moved it up. It still looks quite quiet. I think I can fix this so it's better. Okay. That's in the yellow range. That's about where it should be.
I don't know what's going on, I just can't seem to find the words. Maybe I'm going wrong.
It's awkward when I'm doing the streaming output. I can't change volume, but if I switch to my headphones, then I can. Does this even have volume? Oh, this one's in the middle. Okay. Okay, so hopefully that's good.
I know, you know, there's nothing else left, so I'll go. Maybe you'll be fine in time, my dear. So take it, I hate it, I gotta put it back, but it won't fit. And not everything I need is right here. While I'm trying not to be closed without leaving myself open, it's like everything I've known has been intentional.
This looks like an adverb, meaning at that location. That's my guess.
Well, I guess it's time to pretend.
Alright, that was what I was thinking.
Hi, my name is Stan SB. Welcome to my new official YouTube channel. On here I'll be putting all my latest tracks.
Yeah, by the way, so can be coordinating or subordinating. The comma indicates that it's coordinating in this sentence. I think these are both adverbs. There was an adverb tomorrow. That's what I was thinking as well.
It's over, but it's just begun. Got nothing but bad behavior, a sour taste and a loaded gun. Stop telling us you're our savior. If we need saving, we won't ask for you. Bad choices and bad behavior, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna use.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I caught up on FI. Next let's look at this for Twitter. Let's do Twitter. I already read this one. haven't read these yet.
Forget about choices, just get to it. Blame it on the voices that told you to do it. You got a revolver and some bullets. Raise the trigger.
I wanna check the stream quality. See how readable this textbook. 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 Oh, that's not bad. I don't know about that. Why should it be destructive? This is true. Agree. The strategy is to make a startup. Like, don't work for that kind of company. Get a bunch of equity. Yep. Oh, I guess the tweet's just gone. I like this idea. Oh, oops, one minute. Oh, more applause? Where did it go?
Diversify this.
Underneath the original. That thing I was just reading. But our UI is terrible. Alright, let's try something else. Tweets and replies. I mean, he said less wrong. Here we go. Yeah, so feel free to ask questions, whoever's here. I'm gonna be going through a few things, and then, I guess, write something.
Well, I'm tired of relying on time. If I want it built, I'm gonna have to build it with my own two hands. We've been blazing through.
We run places to win. It'll get easier when you breathe it in. Fall gently, get in. Swallow.
This brightness bug is really annoying, where it sometimes just goes all the way to one end or the other when you hit the button once. Oh, it's doing it again. I just want to put it like, you know, like 3 dots below maximum. I'm hitting brightness down and it's ignoring me. Okay, I hit it a few times and now it's going all the way down. Usually it just fixes itself after a few times and then you can actually set your brightness. It's working! Okay. There's this Craven Slinger enticement thing. About immigration. Okay, first of all, interest and doing, like, busy work chores are different things. Like, you can be busy, and that's why you don't go, not because you're not interested. And that busyness does not mean that you don't follow politics. Like, you might find politics interesting, but not make time in your schedule to go to a physical location to wait in line to deal with the government.
Shifting, you get closer. My eyes
names aren't unique, so that's one reason to store, say, birth dates and genders, to help sort out duplicates. So fucking nasty. So there's no actual argument. I was hoping he'd have like an argument, like it'd be an essay where he explains something and gives reasoning, which I could then respond to and refute. But all it says is he's argued this shit before. But his previous stuff was also shit, so... Oh, that's not even a link. He just uses underlines and italics, but it's not a link. Like, how lazy is he that he literally doesn't link to his own column that he's referring people to? Is it like lazy, or like hatred of technology, or no respect whatsoever for his audience, or thinks sources don't matter, or thinks the fact that it was in Forbes proves the conclusion is true, so no need to read the arguments? How is freedom of movement a right? Like, you have freedom of movement on your property, not on other people's property. If you don't own land, you don't have freedom of movement on that land. He's just not thinking things through? Alright, well that was boring. Yep. Alright, so someone yesterday came here and they said they were homosexual and that someone called them demonically possessed. Maybe it was their parents. I'm just gonna assume it was, but I might have remembered wrong. And I made a few comments related to this old blog post. But I was thinking about it more, because like, I don't know if I want to write or talk.
You will simply become completely absorbed in sound. And therefore you will find yourself living...
I'm not very sensitive in general, like I just look at the issues. And then on top of that, I grew up in the Bay Area, and I was never religious, and I was never homophobic. Those things are like not quite fully real to me, like I've never dealt with them very much. Like the concept of adults who think that homosexuals are demonically possessed is kind of outside my experience. Those are not the kind of people I ever talk with online, like in philosophy discussion groups, and they are not the kind of people I grew up around. I've never lived in, like, Georgia or something. I think that's the kind of the state with a reputation for having people more like that. That's awful. Like, that's really hard on the kids. And a lot of people, like, try to stop being gay for, like, years because of extreme pressure like that. And then, in many cases, it does not work. And they're just miserable for years, and then they give up and accept, quote, who they are.
You will simply become completely absorbed in
And this stuff I'm talking about, like, has nothing to do with that. It's just intellectual issues. It's not trying to deal with those kind of practical situations.
in which there is no past.
As a practical matter, if you're like 18 plus, or probably even like 13 plus,
One happening.
and you think you're gay, you're probably gay and you're probably like gonna stay gay. And it's probably not a great idea to try to change. It depends though, like there's different kinds of situations. So there's some people that I would say are like really gay. Like it's a real thing. But there's other people who are like it's more common with girls today. Or in a subculture that encourages bisexuality. Like there's that Katy Perry song, I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. Like there's various things that encourage people to be bisexual
We do it.
in our culture, and some people just pick up on that and like sort of go along with
Prove
it.
your
So
character.
sometimes it's really hard to change your sexuality, but sometimes it's not that hard. It depends on like whether you feel like you're being forced to, whether you feel pressured into it.
Point of life.
People will change a lot to like conform to their peer group,
And now.
but they don't realize they're doing it. They don't realize they're conforming. They don't feel like they're being pushed into it. They feel like it's the real them. So it's much easier to change your sexuality if it feels natural to you, if it feels like you didn't control or change it. Changing it like on purpose for intellectual reasons is really hard.
Therefore, you will find yourself living in an eternal now,
But like
in which there is no past
being willing to kiss girls because
and there is no future.
some pop music seems high social status to you and eroded some taboos. And with the taboo gone, you're like, sure, why not? Because you're kind of a hedonist and, you know, kissing is fun to you and doesn't mean that much to you and so on. That kind of thing is like, it's easy for people who are into that kind of subculture. Like it just happens for some people, they're not even trying that hard. Sometimes it just works out. And a person who is perfectly straight becomes bisexual. Usually doesn't last, but sometimes it lasts more. There are people who become like transsexual because of peer pressure essentially and various types of encouragement. And some of that stuff is quite lasting. Although I think some of them might regret it like years later. But some of them they're in so deep that they can't really go back. So they have to rationalize it and convince themselves that they're happy with it and they don't regret it and so on. I think homosexuality is like not that big a deal, but transsexuality is if you're getting like surgeries and taking pills and stuff like that. Those things that's like physically screwing with your body. It's a lot more of a problem. There are a lot of people who are just kind of bigoted about homosexuality. Like, so there's some people who are like really against it, like that's demonic possession kind of hatred. And those people are not the majority at all. But if you have to deal with them, that's, you know, it's a big deal. But then what's a lot more common overall, I think, is there's a lot of people who think that they're not homophobic, but they kind of are a little bit and they don't really realize that. Like there's some bias there and they're just not that self-aware and sensitive to the issues. There's a lot of people who are like a little bit homophobic and they would deny they're homophobic. And I think that like frustrates a lot of homosexuals. Because they're like, you know, you are somewhat bigoted, like there's an actual problem there and the person's denying it. And if you actually like experience a little bigotry, even if it's not that bad, if the person's denying that it actually happened or exists, that would be frustrating. There's a lot of people who just like call stuff gay, like casually as a swear word, and most of those people I think actually like are not respectful of homosexuality. Like it just seems a bit icky to them or something. Anyway, the starting point of what I was saying is that I'm not very like sensitive about these things in the way I talk about them. And I'm usually just not really worried about triggering people or being like nice, like I focus on intellectual issues, but I don't regard, like... It's kind of it's a parochial problem, so it's not that high on my interest list. But I do have some awareness that there's an issue there. It's very similar with other stuff like sexism. People call each other like cocksuckers. And I've heard that complained about as an anti-gay smear. But I think that it's like an anti-female smear much more than an anti-gay smear. I think it's looked at as demeaning to have the submissive role in sex and have a penis in your mouth. And that negative view, like, it stands out more when it's applied to a gay male. It's because he's like,
we give little thought to the
supposed
machinery
to be
that
different.
generates the sunlight that makes life possible.
But I think it's also even more just a
To the
condescending
gravity
way of
that
looking at
moves
women
us to an earth that would
and
otherwise
seeing their
send us
sexual
spinning off
role
into space.
as,
Or to the
yeah,
atoms of which
demeaning,
we're
degrading,
made, and
stuff
on
like
whose
that.
stability we fundamentally depend.
People view sex acts symbolically, and they interpret like a lot of moral meaning in them. Questions welcome.
Few of us spend much time wondering why nature is the way it is, where the cosmos came from, or whether it was always there. If time will one day flow backward, or whether there are ultimate limits to what humans can know. What is the smallest piece of matter? Why we remember the past and not the future? And why there is a universe.
Oh, there's more of 5 posts. Oh yeah, I asked just these questions. Let's see if this helps. I should have done them in the reverse order, with the store and the mall first, I think. This isn't clear. If you check out what the physical situation is. But that's not a grammar analysis. gonna have to disagree with that. You could have a really big store. Alan? I don't know what your point is. Is there a typo or something? Oh, okay. I will answer after I finish with this email.
Seems to have been profoundly altered by collisions with such bodies.
I didn't know it was going to be a two-part message. That makes sense though, because YouTube has a 200 character limit. Yeah, your messages have to be like really short. Oh, Alan, while you're here, I still wanted an answer to my FI post to you. The physics one. I tried to re-ask my question. I don't know if I'm confused or what's going on, but it was from like 2 days ago or something. This looks like it. Right, no, I don't think this is it. Is there a different one? Yeah, here's the one I actually wanted to find. July 13. Okay, yeah, so not fully convinced by this. Like, you could have a really big store with a mall inside the store, I think. Just like you can have a Starbucks inside a Safeway or something. Why couldn't you have like a Starbucks and a Pizza Hut inside your Safeway? Or, you know, a lot more. But yeah, to some approximation, that's correct. I'm just being picky. I think the order does tell you. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead with this. Oh, someone says the music's too loud. Let me try turning it down a bit. Okay, that should be softer.
I'm sorry. I don't want to be an emperor. That's not my business. I don't want to rule or conquer anyone. I should like to help everyone if possible. Jew, Gentile, black man, white. We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's misery. We don't want to hate and despise one another. In this world, there's room for everyone, and the good earth is rich and can provide for everyone. The way of life can be free and beautiful, but we have lost the way. Greed has poisoned men's souls. Has stepped us in misery and bloodshed. We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. Our knowledge is made cynical, our cleverness half and unkind. Wishing too much is steal too little. More than machinery, we need humanity. More than cleverness, we need kindness and gentleness. Without these qualities, life will be violent. All will be lost. The aeroplane and the radio have brought us closer together. The very nature of these
Okay, so I didn't link to an actual race realism thing. I think I'd been reading something related to it or talking to someone.
throughout the world.
Can you hear me over the music fine now? Based on the wave or the dB numbers, I think it should be fine.
There's nothing more that we can do here. We've got what we need, and we don't need their help. But we need a change or something new.
Okay, so if you take race realism claims and you interpret them as cultural claims, like Mexican culture is inferior and less civilized and more violent, that's true and there's an important difference there. There are problems with Muslim culture and black culture and sub-Saharan African culture, and so on. People point out there are like IQ differences and differences for crime rates and stuff like that. There are actual problems there. We shouldn't just pretend everyone's like equal and the same, that everyone is just like a middle-class white Christian in terms of values and attitudes to life and behavior and criminality and so on. So I think that's their main point, because there's people who deny that kind of stuff. Like, there's people who actually think that if 10% of the people who live in a city are black, but 15% of the people in jail are black, then that proves the cops are racist. Whereas the race realism people say, no, that's because black people are more criminal. And, I mean, I think it's the black culture rather than the black genes. But I do agree that in that case, I would not assume racism by the police. And if anything, I would assume that it's more like it ought to be 20% black people in jail, not 15. And that there's actually a bias in favor of black people because the police are trying not to get called racist. So they actually give more leeway to black people. So Alan, does that make sense and answer your question? I'm wondering if Alan is like way behind live. I think there's only like a 5-second delay between when I talk and when the live stream hears me. Anyway, I need a writing topic today. It's either more closed border stuff, or if not that, maybe something about epistemology. I don't think these were like super complete. I could probably write more. So what were my main points? Yeah, don't do links like this. Just leave out the parentheses and it'll be a link. Oh, yeah, that's called like left side, and that's really hard, and it saves like 2 seconds. I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about at the end of Cap Kingdom. You can check like what the Cap Kingdom time is in the world record, and then, okay, yeah. Need like a devil face or something. Alan, do you want to voice chat about the physics stuff on Discord? No, you can definitely do triple jumps off of stairs, even railings. Oh wait. Hello, 5 viewers. Feel free to ask questions. Okay, this sounds to me like what Alan is advocating is a shortcut, which it's fine in general, but like confusing for getting an initial understanding. I think Alan is agreeing that the integer view is not wrong. It's just that there are infinitely many. The multiplicities are infinite, so the actual thing you care about is the proportions of the multiplicities, which, as a shorthand, people just call the multiplicity. Instead of the proportion of the multiplicity. I don't know what the Lindy effect is. Do you have a link or something? The reason I like the integer multiplicities is that they correspond to reality in a way that makes more sense to me. Like, Didi is talking about clouds of fungible instances. So, I mean, it's still confusing because it's like infinitely many, but the multiplicity is certainly not like 1 or 2 or 0.5 in terms of how many instances of a particular photon are there. So it makes more sense to me to think of that as a very large or infinite integer, and then it's the proportions that we actually care about. Similar to how many points are in an inch, a very large or infinite number of points, and that the number of points would be an integer, and then the proportion of points in 1 inch versus 2 inches is the thing we actually care about and base our measurement system on. Does that make sense to you, Alan, or do you think I'm lost? Okay, Nassim Taleb is a irrational person who is like hostile to discussion and criticism. And I do not think he merits a reputation as a Popperian. But let's see what this is. Oh, okay, so the longer something has been useful or valuable, the longer we should expect it to be in the future. There have to be a lot of exceptions to this, so I don't think it's very good. It's not very Popperian. It's too much, it's focusing on correlation and statistics when you ought to look at explanations. Okay, like consider an iPhone. The longer I've had my iPhone does not mean the longer I'll be keeping it and it'll still be like useful and up to date and whatever. You know, the longer I've had it, the closer it's getting to obsolete. A lot of things like have predictable lifespans to some extent, and you can't say just because I've kept my iPhone for 11 months, I'll probably keep it for a lot longer. That wouldn't make any sense. You have to be careful what you apply this to. They probably are careful in hidden ways. Like, they probably have a bunch of unwritten rules for what they think the Lindy effect applies to. They probably cherry pick cases where it makes sense and then say, look, the Lindy effect again. I think when you want to predict the future, you have to think about what would cause this to continue into the future, what would cause it to be inapplicable in the future. And if you don't think about causality, I don't think you're going to get anywhere. I think these kinds of end runs around thinking about explanations and causality are irrational and harmful and anti-Popperian. It wouldn't tell you why they survive so long. It doesn't tell you anything whatsoever about causality. This kind of question shows the person is very confused. Like it's specifically, it's just saying if X, we think Y is likely. That's not going to tell you why Y happens. I mean, you can make up reasons why happens, but those are not the Lindy effect. Like you can come up with, if it's been around a while, that probably shows it has some merit, some worth, something's going right. So that's why it'll probably last. With businesses, I don't think that if you're gonna estimate like how long will this business survive based on how long has it survived, I don't think it would be proportional. Like I don't think that would be a good way to guess. It would be more like if it gets through the first year or two, that's a good sign, and then it probably lasts a lot longer. But if it goes from, say, 7 years to 8 years, that probably makes very little difference compared to going from 1 year to 2 year. But if it's proportional, that would mean every year like counts the same. So the Lindy effect would be wrong about businesses. But I think that they just use it very approximately, and they're like, well, the longer business will probably last longer. The Lindy effect was right once again, rather than actually being very precise about it. Alan, I'm also okay with saying like you can't really count them, but it's calling them a real number from 0 to 1 and calling that a multiplicity doesn't make sense to me. Like I want to either say the multiplicity is an integer or say it like doesn't apply or is not well defined or something. Because the number of photons in a multiversal photon cloud of fungible instances is not a real number from 0 to 1. It's like a large number. If it's a number. Ron's idea was to assume the multiplicities are always 1, which I think shows that he just doesn't know quantum physics math or whatever. Because, like, there are actual situations where you just get wrong answers with that policy. Yeah, I agree with this. Yeah, that's a reasonable interpretation. It's kind of like that. Yeah, I mean, most people jumping in don't need $100. And they don't want to, like, taint their large accomplishment. To some extent, if you ask for a $100 reward, you're saying that you did a $100 service. You're, like, lowering the value of your own accomplishment by underpricing it. But because you cannot charge the full price, it can be better to do it for free than at a very discounted rate. It comes up with programmers as well. If you're like a freelancer and you work for 10% of your normal rate, that can cause problems. Because then it's like a professional job, and you're saying you're willing to work for cheap, and so on. Whereas if you just do it pro bono, you can say it was a special exception in a way that paid work isn't. And you can get away with stuff. You can say like, well, you're not paying me, so I'm not going to do that. Whereas if they're paying you something, it's like unclear. It's like, well, you're not paying me enough to do that, but you're paying me, so I sort of have a responsibility. You see, lawyers do some pro bono work as well. There are downsides to free though, because you can get bad clients who are like, ooh, free, I want that. Whereas if you'd charge like a nominal fee, you could keep some of the riffraff out. Alright, I have several physics papers open. I'm gonna look at them a bit more, I think. Okay, finished that one. Did not read a lot of this one yet. Oh yeah, this is the one with the binary search stuff, sort of. In terms of bits of information, where I thought they underexplained it in the footnote, but I figured it out. Oh, pages are too big to fit all at once anyways. I don't like the page titles, by the way. Like, they're just numbered PDFs. They don't have the actual title in the URL. It's like they're disorganized. You can't see which tab is which at all. And when you link people, the bare link isn't readable. Like on most websites, you can actually read URLs and see what the thing you're going to is. Like articles usually have the title. Like my links have, see, morality, there's the title in the link. Alright, measurements, homographic data analysis. I don't even know what tomographic means. I guess they're just using the term like sort of analogously. I don't think it's doing the data rate I told it to do. Maybe it's fine. It's supposed to be almost a megabyte per second uploading. I'm just seeing in OBS that it keeps fluctuating. See, like right now it says 5,000, 3,000. Let's try a bit lower, maybe it'll be better. I don't know, maybe it's fine. Oh yeah, I had an idea. Wait, I can't hear it? I must have the wrong output device or something. Wait, audio. That. Wait. No, there's no sound? What the fuck? I could hear it and now I can't hear it? Now there's no sound at the beginning. Very confused. Audio device. What do you mean? Audio device, headphones? I don't know. I assume you guys can't hear this either. Let me know if you actually can hear it. Oh yeah, I can see in OBS that you guys should not be able to hear it. Oh, Kyle, I talked about homosexuality stuff earlier in this stream. So you might want to find that. FYI. Let's try my old VLC and see if that works or not. Oh, that's also no sound. That was weird though. When I made the new copy of VLC, it made sound briefly, and then I skipped ahead and there was no sound anymore. Let's try something else, like YouTube. Alright, the music was working. So, I don't know what's up with VLC. RIP. I just wanted to show some of the social dynamics, but I could do it some other time, or not. You can actually see a lot of stuff when it's muted. Okay, the actual content starts here. Wait, where's the... I just wanted to see how far into the show I am, and there's no controls. Okay, well yeah, so it's 90 seconds before they actually start the show. Because you need to see, like, Allison makes, like, a predictable joke every time. And then they have to greet Penn and Teller to raise their social status as people who require introductions. Anyway, he's doing facial expressions. Like there's smiling, there's gesturing. He's doing something with his eye, there's sort of a smirk. If you go to something like an objectivist conference, how much you do these things has a big effect on how most people perceive you. And whether most people like you has an effect on whether they tell others about you and help you get attention so you can find the ones who are actually good. There's a lot of smiling and expressions. Oh yeah, Allison does so much. In the first season, they had like a male host, and he would occasionally be used as the assistant, and most of the time, they would pick assistants from the audience. But then they got Allison, and now she's the assistant like 90% of the time, and they only occasionally get people from the audience. But yeah, she's making like all these facial expressions. She's very reactive. I can probably find it for you pretty easily. But his previous stuff was also girls today. Or in a subculture that encourages bisexuality. Yeah, here, this is it. So a little before this. I remembered that I brought up a blank window because I wasn't sure if I was going to type or talk. I ended up talking, so if you look for the blank Ulysses window in preview, you should be able to find... It should be like right here at around minus 71 minutes. Homosexual and that. Someone called them demonically possessed. Maybe it was their parents. Yeah, so from there. Yeah, Allison, like look at that facial expression. She's putting so much work into nonverbal communication. And she's acting. This is not her natural reactions. This is absolutely being an actress. Which is, I think, a lot of why they want her to be the assistant. Is so they can have an assistant who knows how to act. And, because, like, most guests don't know all the right reactions. She always acts, like, extra, like, girly, feminine, scared, weak. So that she can be, like, very easily impressed, or whatever the reaction the magician's trying to get, she gives, like, a lot of it. She makes sounds, too, like, a little bit. But it's more... But they're usually not... Sometimes they're not words. And then she does a lot of expressions. But yeah, she does whatever reaction she's supposed to. Like, there's a short smile right there. There's like a laugh line, so then she does what she's supposed to. She's very compliant to whatever they want. There's a big reaction there. She goes, oh my god. They prefer a girl host because girls are more reactive. Like, in general. Like, men are supposed to be more, like, dignified, calm, I have this under control, I'm not scared, etc. I'm not very emotional, I'm stoic. Whereas with a girl, it's like more expected to like act like that, which is what audiences, I think, apparently want. Her facial expression's right there. She looks like she wants rapport with him. Like, she looks like she's seeking rapport with him. It makes him look high status. Like, higher, it raises him above her status because she's reacting to him and she's trying to seek approval from him and make nice with him and be friendly with him and so on. Like, you don't get a sense that he is chasing her, he's just doing his thing. And like, she's trying to make the interaction friendly and smooth. So it's a way of raising up the guests and making them more impressive. Like, look at the reactions they get from hot actresses. And it's also, I think, just how she goes through life is trying to be like really friendly to people. I think she's that kind of person. Like, that's how a lot of people get ahead in Hollywood, is good social skills. In terms of like pandering and being second-handed and stuff. This guy does a lot of expressions and stuff. Oh yeah, there it is. So this guy brought audience guests on, and this woman keeps like smiling way too much. Both audience members are extremely, extremely compliant. Like, they just want to do whatever they're supposed to do, and she's smiling so much, and like, she's not good at it though. Like, Allison actually knows what she's doing. This person is just like, oh my god, I'm on stage, I'm so impressed. That's like the vibe you get from her, whereas Allison is actually like, what is the current scene? What reaction am I supposed to do? But this person is just like, oh my god, the stage. She's like, oh my god, I have a card, I have a secret, this is so important, this is so special. Like, she's overreacting like so much. And huge smiles. And the reason people like in-person interactions and conferences and stuff is so they can do this kind of acting, communicate things they don't actually want to say out loud and admit that they're communicating, and judge each other by it, by their social skills, by their body language. It's because they do not want to focus on the words and the ideas. That's one of the things I like about it being muted. Like, I've listened to muted stuff or watched muted TV before and noticed, like, you can focus on the gestures and body language a bit more when it's muted. It helps in some ways. And then, yeah, this guy this girl is so fucking compliant. Like, she's super nervous. It's all like nervous laughter. And she's just trying to do her job and like, how do I not fuck up? She's just like waiting for him. She's holding it out like she's ready to give him the card back. Like, she's just preemptively trying to do her job as soon as possible. She doesn't want to fuck it up. That guy's very like smiley and just going along with everything, but she's like very extra strong reactions. The guy's a lot calmer than the girl is. It was the same in the other one as well. The girl was giving like the huge smiles and the guy was acting a lot closer to normal than the girl was. That's typical. Like, that's what girls do in our society, is have big reactions to things rather than actually like say or do much. They're just there to react and be like showpieces, and they put a huge amount of effort into that role. Not every girl, but like a lot of girls, that's very common. And it's not like oppression by the patriarchy, it's like the girls themselves are doing it on purpose. If it's oppression by anyone, it's primarily by their mothers, and, you know, secondarily by their teachers, who are like kindergarten and elementary school teachers skew female pretty heavily, and also by their peers, and the relevant peers are a fair amount same gender. Like, the girls play with the girls, the boys play with the boys quite a bit. So the people who like turn girls into this are their mothers, they're mostly female teachers, and they're mostly female friends and peers. And like if they have role models in movies or whatever, a lot of times those are going to be females as well. Which makes sense, like that it's pre-existing females who act according to the female gender role that would pass it on to the next generation. Like they're the ones who actually know how to do female stuff and to act like that. Like men don't know how to do it as well. It's not natural to them. So this guy, he's doing like normal stage acting stuff. Like what he did with his eyes there and his... He's like gesturing with his hands. There's like a lot of stuff going on with his face and stuff. There's like some value to that when you're being an entertainer, but not when you're being an intellectual. Well, maybe a little for intellectuals, but much less. Which is why more intellectuals should not have their webcam on all the time. And should favor more word-based interactions and less body language-based interactions than they do. But she does like a lot of she's nodding so much, like she overdoes it a lot. Nodding again, like a bunch of nodding. Whenever Allison talks, like she puts actual effort into opening her mouth pretty wide and like being able to smile somewhat while talking, and like she's exaggerating all the like mouth gesturing. Anyway, you can see similar stuff on all kinds of things. Like if you watch the Overwatch League and you look at the people who talk during the games, like the announcers, when you get to see them on camera or between rounds, all of those people are always doing a bunch of social stuff. They do group dynamics as well. Like they tease each other. And a lot of times what you see is when someone says something, the other person rushes to agree with them. They never disagree with each other. If they don't like something, they just don't say anything back. But if they like it at all, they will. They frequently repeat what the other person said in slightly different words. And they're like piling on and going along with it. And they don't just want to say like, I agree with you, because that's considered boring. They have to like sort of make it their own a little. But it's just a compliance game. Oh, this is just the long version of Fabric of Reality Chapter 10. But yeah, this is important. That, like, thinking, computing, math, that's all physical processes. Because it means that, in theory, the laws of epistemology depend on the laws of physics. They're determined by the laws of physics, because if information flowed in different ways, then thinking and reasoning and logic would work differently. I find people very hostile to that point and not very willing to think about it in general. What's this? Oh, that's Wallace. This is also Wallace. Don't need that one. Oh yeah, I had an idea for replying to Ron. Let's see, physics discussion. I was considering ignoring Ron because he's dumb, but I thought of a thing to reply, so... Wait, that's not the right button. Post comment. Oh, that's a typo. With multiple. I'm just gonna delete that comment and redo it, because there's no edit button. And with what multiplicity? Okay, that's better. Something's beeping. Oh, I got 2 notifications. And there's new FI posts. Oh, one of the other things I wanted to say about homosexuality is there's like very different subcultures that do it. Like there's super promiscuous subcultures, and there are other subcultures that act sort of more like normal middle class people are supposed to. Although a lot of heterosexual people are very promiscuous in their like early 20s now, which I'm not an advocate of. And there's like the people who are into gay pride parades and into political activism and into making their sexuality a large part of their identity. And in general, I don't recommend that. I'd recommend like downplaying it a bit more rather than upplaying it. Like, for example, if more than 50% of your friends are homosexual, I would regard that as a bad sign. Similarly, like if there's a Muslim immigrant and most of his friends were Muslims, I would regard that as a bad sign. Like one should just have some normal friends from normal American culture instead of getting super involved in the Muslim identity. Like if you're a Muslim on the side and that's part of your life, but it's not like your whole life, that's okay. But if you're like organizing all of your peer groups around it, then it like dominates your life. And if you get into political activism around it, then it dominates your life even more. And I think the Muslim identity and the homosexual identity are not things that are generally a good idea to make the focus of your life. If it's like, I'm a physicist and on the side I'm gay, that's fine. If it's like, I'm gay and on the side I'm also a physicist, that sounds like a worse idea to me. Some people make a big deal out of sex, but the majority of people, especially like over 30, I think it like doesn't dominate their life too much, which I think is generally better. But when you're a minority group of some sort, there's certain like encouragement to make a big deal out of it. Okay, so there were 2 new posts, I think. Oh, this one I already read. So this block spear thing. Oh, okay, simple point. Yeah. So it's totally expected to have like more gay friends than the average person because you've like met more gay people and like have reasons to seek them out. But if it was like, mostly gay friends, then that would be getting like really involved in the LGBTQ activism community or something, which is in general like really anti-objectivist and left-wing. Okay, well, I think the gist of this is that you can measure quantum stuff if you're careful and use laboratory conditions, which just makes sense to me already. I don't think I'm gonna read this carefully and follow all the details, though. And I've read some of this, but not all of it. Oh yeah. I thought this beginning stuff was good. I don't really like the rational agent argument and making stuff rely on betting, though. Because, like, even if there are no people alive or no one wants to place bets, probability is still a thing. In the sense that if there are 100 fungible instances, and then 66 of them go one way and 34 go another way. There are now two types. There's no way to say like which of the original 100 are now in the 66 category. I need like text maybe. Something like this. I think you can talk about it without decision theory, sort of along these lines. Like the actual thing that happens in reality is a proportion of them get one result and a different proportion get a different result. I don't really see the difficulty of associating that with probability. Oh, Kyle, are you the KI person from Discord? I hadn't realized that. People find religion gives them answers about life. It gives them explanations. It gives them a value system. It gives them like a way of dealing with reality. So they're not just lost with either no guidance or like very haphazard bits and pieces of guidance. Like it's more of an organized system than magazine articles or whatever random crap their parents said. Like some parents do not present their kids with a organized system for dealing with reality. Or if they do, sometimes it is Christianity, but they don't have like a different one on offer. For most people don't look at things very deeply. They don't ask a lot of questions, so they're pretty easy to satisfy. Like it doesn't have to be a very good system to satisfy them. They just need something that sounds right and that they can occasionally use. But for the small minority of people who try to look into things more deeply, Christianity actually does have a lot of answers. Like there's a lot of written material of like literary analysis of the Bible and I don't know, theology. Like there have been actual people who wrote a bunch of books about like details of Christianity, similar to how there are a bunch of physics books written by physics experts. There are experts on Christianity who have put like a bunch of work into thinking about it. And so the answers they came up with are good enough for most people. They're good enough for people who don't look very deeply at things, but they occasionally have like an additional question. So like they occasionally ask a hard question and then they can go look up an answer or like ask an expert or something and get some sort of answer. And whether it's good or not, like it'll probably impress them. And then for people who actually want to like know details in general, there's actual material there they can study and be impressed by and be like, most people of the ones who like go into detail are mostly going to agree with whatever they're told. They wanted more details, but then they get them, so then they're satisfied. The majority are not going to go into a field, like learn all the details and then say, okay, this field is wrong. Like you get this not just with Christianity, but with psychology or physics. When people learn a bunch about something that is like the ideas that many people have put a lot of thought into, usually they're not smarter than like the combined wisdom of dozens of prior experts. And so they don't see better and know better, at least not significantly. Like they might add a few things here and there, but they usually don't overturn the system. So for the deeper thinkers who go looking into Christianity, most of them are not deep enough thinkers to say all these previous experts were wrong. If you're just looking at Christianity like in isolation. Like the main way people reject it is not finding the flaws in it themselves. It is access to like the tradition of atheist experts. Like they don't individually figure out Christianity's wrong. They get help from the combined wisdom of many previous atheists. And then with that on their side, when there's rival clashing traditions that both have had a bunch of smart experts, then people have sort of their choice of either one. Because either one can seem plausible to them, because either one is wiser than they are personally. So if you don't go in for the atheism tradition, then the Christianity tradition can impress you. And there are some things that are like superficial, and if you want more details or more meaning to them, it just doesn't exist. like skiing. If you go skiing down hills in the snow, you can get good at it, you can go fast, but it's not like a deep activity. There aren't like a bunch of books about all the meaning of it. Most things that people do are not super important. Like watching Game of Thrones, you can read like analyses of the episodes and like which episodes are good or whatever. But there isn't like deeper meaning there. Like some people want something less superficial than that in their lives. And so Christianity is one of those things that has more depth to it. Whether it's true or not, it does have like a lot more answers and more to say about important things in life. The Bible's convenient because it has a lot of answers in one place. And if you don't have an authority where, like, questions stop, like, the Bible has the right answer, so we already know the answer, like, you get caught up in, there are, like, unlimited ways to question and doubt things, and people have trouble dealing with that. Like, atheists and intellectuals have trouble with that, too. They just don't answer most questions and most criticisms. And their excuse is, well, I'm busy, and there's like a million critics on the internet, and most of them are wrong, and so on. And so they just sort of give up on the project of answering everything. Whereas if you could say, like, my book is the truth, so anyone questioning the book must be wrong, it would be nice if there was, like, further material to explain it to them, but we already know the answer. That would be, like, easier in a way. It'd be convenient for dealing with doubters. I find most intellectuals don't actually do much to try to deal with that problem. For example, if you look at all the questions you get, you're going to find a lot of repetition. You ought to be able to take all the repeated questions and then make an FAQ page and then answer them. And then that'll cut down the incoming questions you got by like 90%. There will be some people who like repeat stuff that's in the FAQ, but you can answer them with just a link instead of actually writing something new. And not only that, but like your fans can answer them for you. You don't have to answer people personally when the answer is as simple as here's the link to the FAQ. You can like get your community of supporters to do that. But like Jordan Peterson does not have an FAQ. I don't think Sam Harris has an FAQ. Right, so you see nothing here like here are my most important essays that answer most of the common questions, or here's my FAQ, or anything like that. There's no forum for people to ask questions on and then be answered by not only Harris personally, but by Harris's fans and supporters and so on. Anyway, I explained that here. And there's links to a lot more stuff at the bottom. But my basic point is, if you don't know this stuff that I call paths forward, that I've largely invented because no one seemed to know it, or at least not to have written it down, then there are actual like difficulties with how to be a rational intellectual. So like the Bible fans, it's not like there's some perfect alternative available to them that they're aware of. They're only aware of alternatives that have like certain ongoing flaws or compromises or whatever, and that's what they're comparing to. So even if they knew that their thing's like not ideal, they don't know a different option that's ideal either. So it would have different strengths and weaknesses rather than just being like strictly better, which makes the comparisons different. Alright, I made it over 1,000 words. So that's my writing goal for today. I finished the minimum. You're welcome to share FI ideas with anyone and everyone. Not just welcome to, encouraged to share them. That's what they're for. I make huge amounts of public material on purpose, hoping people will see it. I have, I'll briefly show a few things. I have a newsletter, and I've been doing that regularly for a couple of years because I put content at a lot of different places. So the newsletter is where I gather content from multiple sources, so it's easier to follow it. And I have YouTube, and I have podcast. There's a bunch of podcasts. The philosophy question series I think are like all on YouTube. Maybe the early ones are as well. But basically all the recent ones are not on YouTube. And I have like multiple websites with essays and stuff. Like this one has an outline of philosophy with links for more information, most of which are to my writing, but not all of them. And oh, on my YouTube, I recently set the intro video. If you go to like home, wait, is that not it? Maybe it's only if you're not yourself. I'm confused. Oh, maybe it's because I'm live streaming, so I put the live stream here. Alright. Anyway, this is what I wanted to find. An overview of my philosophy ideas. And I have a store where I have like videos and stuff for sale. And in particular, there are discussion groups, which is what these emails are. These emails are all philosophy discussion related things. There's a lot of them. And there's also the blog comments on the Curi site. And there's like 10 comments a day maybe on average. There's active discussion, which I try to get people to actually talk in. These are the recent comments with dates. This is only the last few days. The hour 2, the 11th, the 10th, the 9th, and down to the 3rd at the bottom. I'm gonna BRB. If there aren't any questions in the next like 10 minutes, I might end the stream. It's been 2.5 hours. Yeah. Subjective infinitives use the object form of the pronoun. That's like a rule. I don't know if you finished reading through the thread, but there's actual links about infinitives with subjects. If you just Google like infinitives with subjects, these are infinitive as subject. Here's subject of an infinitive. Anyway, like here's an example, and it uses me, not I. I think there's a better link that Anne found, and links later in the thread. Ann Coulter is really anti-drugs and has like standard views on mental illness and psychosis and stuff, which I do not agree with. It's Prime Day. The standard views are one, that psychosis is real. Two, that psychotic people should be put in prisons without a trial, as long as you call the prison a hospital and say that you're helping them. And that help can include like involuntary drugging. This is a very short version. Ayn Rand read one of Saz's books. It's on one of those like lists of things found on her bookshelf. She wrote margin notes in it. It was called this is the one Rand read. I read this one first. It was the first Saz book I read because Rand had it on her shelf. This one talks a bit about the history of mental illness. He's written like 35 books. One of the things he talks about is that mental illnesses and cancer are not the same thing. Therefore, you should not use the same word, illness, for both of them. Mental illnesses are metaphorical illnesses. They're not really illnesses like cancer. Whatever they are, they're something else. And one of the things they are or can be is misbehavior. Bad behavior, bad ideas, and then acting on the bad ideas. Which is why we see a lot of drugging of school children who misbehave, like according to their parents and teachers. The idea of misbehavior implies, in general, like an authority who's judging who is misbehaving. It implies like someone the behavior is unacceptable to, who wants to stop or suppress it or whatever. But there are also objective standards of morality and like what behavior can be part of a good life or not. Like some people called mentally ill are living unwisely, which is still a different thing than an illness. But some of them are just victims of those with power who do not like something they did. I played chess growing up, and one of the kids in our chess club was on maybe Adderall, I forget, but he was diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. And you could kind of see it when he was at school that he like didn't like to sit still and be bored in class all the time and would like talk to people and like do things like standard stuff. But what I thought was notable, and I noticed this at the time long before I knew philosophy, was that when we went to a chess tournament and he was doing something he actually wanted to do instead of listening to a teacher, he could literally sit still and make no noise for like 4 hours straight to play one chess game. So I thought it was fucking ridiculous to say that that person has a hyperactivity disorder, when if they're in a situation they actually like, if they want to be playing chess, they can be quiet and still. That was not a problem for them. They only had trouble being quiet and still when they were in classroom that they hated. You also see that in intellectual debate, sometimes people call you crazy when they just think you're wrong. Sometimes they just stray into that territory. Like, you can be wrong in like normal ways, and then they'll be like, I disagree with you. But if you're wrong in like certain ways that they find like too unreasonable, then they call you crazy and they don't want to deal with it. Yeah, I think the mental clinics and the drugging and stuff are very patient unfriendly. One of the notable things about them that Saz points out is who pays for them. Like, in general, with medicine, well, medicine's fucked up because like the insurance companies and the government are trying to take it over. But In general, things that help someone, that individual will pay for it himself. It's different with children because they have to get their parents to pay for stuff, but still. Like, the client pays for the thing that helps him because he wants it. That's like a standard model. With mental illness, with psychiatry, you see a lot of like the government or someone else pays for it who is not the person getting the services. So you have a lot of people who are there who don't want to be there. And so they make like involuntary commitment laws, which are scary. And they still do lobotomies and electroshock as well to people who do not want them. They just renamed both of them. Okay, gerund is a noun and participle is a adjective. So seems like an adjective, so present participle. I don't know what it's actually going to take. Like, you have to write out this whole thing. Participle. Okay, after is a preposition and resting is a noun. So, gerund. At first I was confused because I think it was a conjunction, but then I was like, well, this is not a complete clause. So, it's got to be a preposition with a noun. Reading a good novel, always. Okay, so this is the subject. Oh yeah, this is the object of a preposition. Okay, this one's a modifier, like clearing his throat is telling us information about Bill. That wouldn't make sense as a noun. You couldn't have like dog, comma. So participle. Does the university matter? I didn't pay attention to what website I was on. Taking long walks on the trail. Oh, they enjoy. So that's going to be the object. Like, Gerund object. Well, they want me to say direct object, but whatever. Don't eat it. Alright, that's participle. Modifier. That one's a noun. Gerund, a positive. Oh, I'll give you the link. It was just from FI. You want it? Justin posted this thing. This one is a participle. Okay. Oh, was I supposed to say what modified what? Whatever. Oh, it says correct answer. Correct answer. Correct. 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 Oh, I got 100%. Alright. Well, that merits a reply. Alright, I'm gonna end the stream now. I might not stream again for a while, I don't know. But even if I'm busy, I always check Fallible Ideas emails and Curiosity website comments. Later.